Hi everybody, how you doing? We are here to do the October 2024 astrology. Sorry, it's been a week. So I hope everyone is doing fine, keeping it together. As I mentioned, I think they're like, before I get started going into the specific aspects of October 2024, I want to talk about like where the planets are right this second and what you may be feeling and why. Because there are the planets are feeling very urgent right now. That's kind of the best word that I can describe it. And September probably felt like it was like a whole year in September. If I think back to like September 1st, who I was, what I was doing, and where I am now, it's literally two different people. Like an entirely different person. It's insane. So I don't have the screen up, but because it gets complicated with the software. But I'm going to talk about the specific placements that are causing this sense of urgency, this sense of transformation, but like total regeneration. And I mentioned in the cards yesterday the word like purging. And it's really weird because I was on TikTok last night and I saw that like everybody's talking about this Donald Trump clip where he talks about like one really violent day, and everyone was saying, is he describing the purge? And I was like, oh God, I hope my use of the word like it wasn't meant to incite or invite or associate myself with anything. I was actually just using it for what was happening in my own life. And it's really coming from the placement of Pluto, right? Pluto has retrograded for the third and final time into Capricorn. Now, he has been at the 29th degree since I think the beginning of September, which is kind of when the poo-poo hit the fan. I'm not allowed to curse within the first 8 minutes, so I'll be nice and clean. 29th degrees are anaretic degrees, and those are urgent almost by definition, right? It's kind of like you have to get somewhere on time, right? Like you have a party or a dinner or something to be at. Like you have to be somewhere else. You are conscious of the fact it's not just like chilling out at home on the couch. You are ready to be somewhere else. They are waiting for you. There's a whole thing that needs to happen. But you have to make sure, did I turn off the lights? Is the iron off? Did I feed the cat? Are the windows locked? Did I lock this? And sometimes you have to go back upstairs and be like, oh, damn it. I forgot my keys, or I forgot to do this, or I forgot to do something else. So that is where Pluto is right now. He knows he has to be somewhere else, and that the literal humanity and the internet is waiting for him in Aquarius. But he's like, guys, I forgot the thing. I can't come until I take care of the thing. Now, Pluto in Capricorn has been about blowing up the institutions, death to the old institutions, and seeding the new. As I explained, I think on the last astrology reading, the people that are born with this in their charts are the ones that will then have the challenge to fix it as they get older, right? I come from a Pluto and Libra generation. When I was a child, relationships were broken. Now, as an adult, I am part of the generation that rewrites what a relationship looks like. So anyone born with Pluto in Capricorn will have lived the collapse of the old institutions and will be in the process as they get older of redefining what those institutions are, for better or for worse. But Pluto is feeling very, or like he's in a rush, right? And he's chaotic because he's like, doesn't want to forget anything, but is also like being pulled. I gotta go. I can't stay here and like think about calmly, like, did I do everything? The taxi's downstairs, it's waiting for me. So that would be one thing. But Venus, and I mentioned this last time, has recently moved into Scorpio, right? So Venus in Libra is lovely. She's fun. She's chatty. She's the flirty girl. She goes through her entire roster. She doesn't need to commit. Venus moves into Pluto, or into Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, and is like, no, like we are not messing around. Like we are serious. We are doing this or we are not doing this. Now, at the same time, remember, Pluto is also the underworld. So where we lose control, willingly or not, bondage, sadism, things like that, inflicting pain, and scams, right? It's where you get scammed. And as anyone who's been listening to me knows that I got scammed this week, twice actually. Twice scammed and once just flat out robbed. 3 times in the arc of 3 days. The first time, it was totally my fault. There's an explanation, but I was waiting for a package and I got a phishing scam that said like, oh, your package can't be delivered because you haven't paid the administrative fees. And so I willingly entered all my credit card data into a scam site and spent the rest of the weekend dealing with the fallout of that. Finances, right? Other people affecting my finances. Scorpio, 8th house. Also Taurus, 2nd house, Uranus and Taurus, surprises, things you don't see coming. He is in the 2nd house, ruled by Venus, blowing things up, surprises, things you don't expect, right? So unwelcome surprises by people trying to screw you in institutions that need to be revised, right? And what I think is the energy that has come out in the last week or so is like almost a warning for the future of be very careful, because this is just a taste of what could come when you put every single effing thing on the internet, right? I was at an Airbnb. It didn't happen, but because I got screwed over the internet multiple times this week, and then my credit card got locked, I didn't have access to my money, I couldn't buy groceries, I couldn't do this. Like all of a sudden, I was a prisoner of my own phone and my own security. Like everyone else was able to access my my phone and stuff, just not me. I had no access to my money. And trying to get help on the internet, trying to get a human that I could speak to and reason with and explain to them what had happened, I was talking to bots, and bots just kept saying, start over, start over, start over, start over. So I had a very rude awakening this week of actually like the guise of comfort and ease of life is actually turning into, with our willing complicity, a digital tyranny, right? Now, I went to an Airbnb that had the doors were like, I didn't meet the person who was renting me the house. I input my data onto a website that belongs to them. They sent me a link to get into the house, and I didn't even need keys. I just needed to click a thing on my phone and it would unlock the door. Okay, now what happens if I lose the phone, right? I don't know who I've rented from. I have no way to access. I have to like find an internet cafe, remember my password for booking, to try and get a link back to that from a person who I don't even know where they live. They may not even live here. So it's like, teachable moments, cautionary tales of where we could be in the future. Because right now it's like fun. It's like hotels and shit like that. What happens when AI takes over and the legal system is all computerized, right? Then I got a notification from Vinted that I had 2 accounts. I do not have 2 accounts. And they were going to like ban and close my account. Why? They didn't present me with any evidence. They had just decided, right? So Pluto is like, he's kind of like, I've been into Aquarius for a minute. I've seen what's going to happen, and this will be the AI revolution. And he's like, I need you to kind of wake up a little bit before I head in there and toss this shit, for better, for worse, because he's about extremes. So he's like, I'm about to take AI to levels you can't even imagine. But he's doing just like a little wave, like, but hey, remember, the institutions can still fuck with you. I'm past my 8 minutes. So that was kind of what happened. That was my takeaway from the week and what's been going on, right? As a result, I have decided that I am going to keep literally only the minimum amount of shit that I need on the internet and nothing else. I've also heard, I was in London this summer and I heard this poor girl had her phone stolen in Dalston, and within a matter of minutes they had liquidated her bank account, so be careful out there. But so as I was saying, urgent planets: Pluto in Capricorn, Venus in Scorpio responding to Pluto in Capricorn, all the planets in Libra, all the planets in Taurus, Uranus, who's like here to fuck shit up. He's like, I am trying to blow this thing up, are all responding to this Venus, who's responding to this Pluto. Now, fortunately, for right now, just until November, Pluto is responding to Saturn in Pisces, who responds to Neptune in Pisces. That is ultimately the dispositor of the chart right now. And when the moon goes into Libra, I think pretty much every planet responds back to this Neptune in Pisces, which we had at the beginning, which is also why there's so much chaos, because he's retrograde. So like chaos squared. He's in his domicile. He's very powerful. What it means is also that your intuition and your creativity is on point. But it also means things are very hard to organize and to grasp. Sorry, I know I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm looking at this chart and like each one is calling me. So the urgency, as I said, Pluto is in Capricorn. Venus is responding to that Pluto. Mars is in Cancer. Now Mars hates to be in Cancer. Hates it. Right? There's no path forward. You have to like float or go with the tides or, find some vessel that can potentially get you to where you're going to be. So Mars absolutely hates being in Cancer. He is only halfway through. He will not move signs until November. So for us, who we are ruled by Mars, October is going to be tedious. You will always want to pay attention to where the moon is, because that's what's ruling it. This past week, the moon was in Cancer. So the moon was conjunct Mars. You probably had a very emotional fight with someone, a female, probably a female that you love dearly, and you're like, felt betrayed. Just know that whatever the conversation was or whatever went down, neither one of you was seeing things objectively. No one is seeing anything objectively right now. We are so deep in a sense of loss of power, a sense of what the fuck is happening. My life doesn't look like it used to, but I can't see, I don't have the controls to navigate this ship. And everything like feels insane. Uranus on one of the most violent degrees of the zodiac at 26 on top of fixed star Algol. It's a very violent energy there. And then on top of that, we also have the nodes. North node is at 6 Aries, South node is at 6 Libra. Is that right? Yeah. Both of them about to switch signs in January. North node will go into Pisces. The South node will go into Virgo. So they're like, we got to get this shit done. Like, what's the change? Did you release these things? Did you dump all the old patterns? Have you gotten rid of the old partners? There's this great show on Netflix last night that I didn't even mean to, but I ended up binging it in one evening, which is Nobody Wants This. It's with Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. Love. And it's about healthy relationships and what they look like. And a girl who is, avoidant attachment from a dating scenario that's atrocious, and what it means and how you behave when you actually find someone emotionally mature enough to handle you. Now, I watched it and I was like, that is the dream, but that man does not exist today. So anyway, that's an aside. But there is all this urgency about taking a look at your relationship patterns, and that's what this movie is all about. Okay, so let me talk about the actual, that's what's going on in the sky as we now look at how it's going to play out into October. And I'll try and go as fast as possible here because I did not mean to speak this much. All right, Tuesday. First, moon moves into Libra. Second, Libra solar eclipse. I will be doing a reading for that specifically and my meet and greet so you can learn a little bit about me. Thursday, nothing. Friday, Venus in Scorpio trines Saturn in Pisces. This is all that intensity and that creativity finally working together, right? And the moon will be in Scorpio. This will be a very intense, very emotional day. Again, remember, nothing is objective. You are living in a very subjective fisheye lens for the rest of the month. So don't assume that your feelings are facts, okay? Because we have the potential to say shit that we don't mean. So just remember that we're not seeing clearly. And speaking of which, Mercury in Libra, square Mars in Cancer. That is a fight. So watch it. Moon in Sagittarius will lighten a little bit of the energy. So, that Mars, it will be less intense than it should be. On the 8th, Venus in Scorpio trine Mars in Cancer. Again, two water signs coming together. But Venus and Mars working together from a very deep emotional place, committing to the right things, right? Making healthy psychological changes to nurture yourself, giving yourself what you need, changing how you go about giving yourself what you need. Mercury in Libra trine Jupiter in Gemini, also very nice because that Gemini is ruled by Mercury, who's in Libra. Ladders all the way back up to the Neptune. But the thinking is on point on this day. Jupiter goes retrograde on the 9th. Now, I haven't made a prediction on this because Jupiter in Gemini thus far can only be described as a gigantic clusterfuck. It's like been Mercury retrograde on steroids. So I don't know if things are going to calm down or if they're going to get worse. I have to see what happens in those next couple of days, and I'll get back to you. Pluto goes direct in Capricorn. So on the 11th. So he now knows. Remember, he's back up. He's like, shit, I forgot my keys. or I forgot to water the plants or something, he now has very clear what he needs to get done before he can leave the house to go move into Aquarius. So there is a game plan, there's a shift, a transformation there that will finally be able to happen. Whereas you've been studying it, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and it's in our 10th house of honors and career. So if you've been shifting career or looking for a job, this may be the svolta, as we say in Italian, the flip that you need to start seeing some movement forward. Then on the 13th, busy day. Mercury in Libra, square Pluto and Capricorn. That's tough. That's also a fight. But Pluto's direct now, so he's like, Libra, or Mercury in Libra, enough with your fucking waffling. Pick a lane and move forward. Sun trine Jupiter, very nice. Mercury moves into Scorpio. We are heading into Scorpio season, very intense. It tends to be like hard to deal with, but regenerative at the end of the day if you survive. Moon in Pisces, very emotional day, that one there. Next day, Sun in Libra, square Mars in Cancer. Again, where is the moon? In Pisces. Going to be a tough one because you're going to be overly emotional. You will not be, someone will try and bring you some objective data. You will not see it clearly because you're in your feels. But it may give you a very clear idea of like what you're not willing to, what's the fucking word? Like your non-negotiables. It'll give you an idea of what your non-negotiables are because this is part of your dream. So I'm not willing to give up on that. At the same time, where were we? Venus and Scorpio opposite Uranus and Taurus. This is going to be interesting because Uranus and Taurus is trying to blow up the world. And Venus is his boss. She is over there in Scorpio. So these guys have like a tug of war. It's kind of like a coming to Jesus moment where she's like, I told you to do this. And he's like, oh, I thought you meant this. And it's like, well, which one are we doing? Now that we've done this, which one are we doing? So this is going to be a wonky day. 15th, Venus and Scorpio trines Neptune and Pisces. So that is the two bosses of this chart finally talking and making a plan. Moon moves into Aries. We will have a couple of days, what with that Mars in Cancer, of fresh air. On the 17th, Venus and Scorpio sextile Pluto and Capricorn working together. Two bosses meeting again. Venus moves into Sagittarius. Thank God. That will alleviate a lot of the intensity and move us into a much lighter place, into a fire sign. And remember, Venus is ruling all the stuff that's in Libra and in Taurus. We have an Aries full moon. Now, this has been the subject of much debate across many accounts because last year many people were talking about 3 eclipses happening this year, and then at the beginning they wiped it. Now there is an Aries full moon. It is not quite an eclipse. It is an almost eclipse. It's like within minutes, not even, of an eclipse, but it doesn't happen. That said, and I would say that for most people, this isn't important, but for Aries, this is still important. It's like, I'll give 2 examples. If you are in a car accident, there is a series of consequences and things that you then have to deal with, right? If you are almost in a car accident, you don't have to deal with the same things, but it doesn't mean you don't have an exaggerated emotional response of a day, right? And don't get to thinking certain thoughts. Being pregnant, finding out you are pregnant is a big change. Getting a false positive on a pregnancy test that you may have been pregnant but are not doesn't have the same repercussions, but it doesn't mean you don't clarify your thinking. You don't clarify your position. You don't, like, was I ready? Do I want it more now? Am I willing to go the extra? Like, so sometimes the almost happenings can be just as powerful as the happenings. So again, it's not an official eclipse. You won't read about it anywhere else except astronomically. I personally think it's very important for us, and even if it's not an actual eclipse, it's still going to have a very significant energetic impact on Aries. Moon moves into Taurus that day. 19th, Moon in Gemini. 21st, Moon in Cancer. Remember, you want to keep tracking these because our Mars is in Cancer. On the 22nd, Sun square Pluto. That is a power struggle. Mercury in Scorpio, trine Saturn in Pisces. That is echoing that Venus conversation that happened on the 15th. So she's like, here's what I want. Here's what would make me happy. And then Mercury's like, especially after that Aries full moon, is like, well, here's kind of what I think about that. And maybe like I've changed my thinking. Like once upon a time, I wanted to do this. And now after that full moon, that near miss or near hit, here's actually what I think about that and how I want to go about getting it, which might be different than you thought 2 weeks prior. Sun moves into Scorpio on the 22nd. Now, I don't usually write moon transits because they only last a few hours. In this case, this is a transit that's enough to blow up shit. So Moon in Cancer, conjunct Mars in Cancer. This is another fight like the one you had in September, with a female that you love and care about deeply. Disengage. Don't blow up relationships because neither one of you is seeing clearly. 24th, Mars in Cancer, sextile Uranus in Taurus. That'll be interesting. Moon moves into Leo. Then on the 26th, the Moon in Virgo. Great time to tackle your to-do list. Mars in Cancer, trine Neptune in Pisces. Finally, like a meeting with the CEO. He's the boss of everything. You're like, I'm dying here. Like, I'm so emotional about this. And he's like, well, it's all leading up to this. So that is a nice encounter. Venus in Sagittarius, square Saturn in Pisces. Venus is a little bit flippant because she's like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be out of Scorpio and having a good time again. And I love this. And Saturn is like, hey girl, yeah, but remember that you promised to do this. Like you said you were going to go home and take care of this, that, and the other. So there's a little choice point of something you want to do that may be a little bit more fun and careless, and Saturn, as usual, being the wet mop on the day. Moon in Libra on the 29th. And then on the 30th, the Moon in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio trines Neptune in Pisces. Very important meeting of those two because the Moon is also in Scorpio. So that's an emotional alignment day, a transformation alignment day. Like, are we all on the same page here? And how do I go about, like, am I thinking about this in the right way? Okay. Hope this was helpful. Sorry it was so long. November should not be that way because things will be a little bit calmer, but I wanted to make sure I covered off like the whys. There's all this going on right now. Although November we will be in Scorpio season, so that will have its own party. Okay. Thanks for watching and take care.